अस्सलाम वालेकुम लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन। अगर आपको याद हो तो पिछली दफ़ा वी हैड स्टार्टेड डिस्कसिंग अ लिटिल बिट ऑन कल्चर। और कल्चर की स्टडी को हमने कहा था कि इट्स प्रीटी इम्पोर्टेंट। व्हाई? बिकॉज दोज पीपल हु लिव विद इन अ पर्टिकुलर कल्चर would normally tend to behave under certain conditions in the same manner. The reason is basically very simple, because culture is something which guides our normal behavior, and that is what we were trying to explain. Lekin this is not an easy job to do. Why? Because cultures are difficult to define, और उसकी वजूहात कई हैं. For example, when we look at an individual, normally psychologists try and study individuals. When we have social scientists, they normally tend to study a particular group or a community. But when we look at anthropologists, जिनका ये काम है, the study of culture, so they have various ways of approaching this. So today in the lecture, what we will be doing is, we will continue from what we had been doing in the previous session, and then we will try and understand how cultural studies are done. And obviously फिर उसकी implications को भी देखने की कोशिश करेंगे, whatever the implications are. But one thing is very, very clear, that culture is basically the personality of the society, or personality of a nation, if you might say. But it's not even that simple, because to understand the character or to examine the character of a whole society requires different techniques and different approaches. Misal ke taur pe, we can study the language that is part of the culture, we can study the laws, we can study stories and legends, and all kinds of things can be brought into position to be able to understand what and how cultures can be defined. And that is again just not that very simple, because nation ka culture to boundaries ke andar hai. So we can talk about the national culture of a particular nation, but then there are other areas of culture also. For example, there is something known as supranational culture, which means culture which goes across borders. Or phir culture is another area that we will be discussing, is that culture is normally dynamic, in the sense that it changes, and it changes slowly, but it tries to assimilate other things from other areas, from other cultures. Even technology brings change in the cultural ways we behave. मकसद इस पूरे सेशन का जो है वो ये है, to be able to understand that culture is not a given static thing. It will change over a period of time. And अगर हम example देखें, तो किसी ज़माने में when mobiles were not there, when telephones were not there, तो कल्चर था, खत लिखे जाते थे. A child in a boarding school or living in a hostel, तो वहाँ it was assumed behavior of a child or a son or a daughter that she would write to the mother regularly, and the mother or the father would write regularly. So letter जो था, लिखना, खत लिखना, वो cultural norm था. But over a period of time, telephones आए, now we have mobiles, now we have gone to the point of SMS, और फिर अब Twitter और फिर Facebook. They have now brought change in the way we behave in the areas, in different connotations. कई जगहों के ऊपर जो behaviors हैं, वो इन चीज़ों की वजह से change हो रहे हैं. So when we talk about culture, then culture is evolving, it changes, it assimilates things, and we cannot just hold the culture to stay at one point. इसीलिए marketers के लिए it becomes very, very critical that they keep watching how the cultures are going to change and what influences are going to be brought into position, whereby people will tend to behave and buy things, और किस तरह से कब खरीदे जाएंगी और क्या चीज़ें खरीदी जाएंगी. All these things are part of the cultural styles that we have. मिसाल के तौर पे अगर आप थोड़ा सा पीछे जाएं 10 साल, you will see that there were only birthdays that used to be celebrated, or marriage anniversaries थी, या death anniversaries थी, ये normally हुआ करते थे. But over a period of time, particularly in Western world, particularly America में, because of their cultural frames, they have Valentine Day, they have the President's Day, they have the Father's Day, they have the Mother's Day. तो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता ये चीज़ें पाकिस्तान में भी आनी शुरू हो गई हैं, और उनकी वजह से, because of, like I've been saying at this point of time, कि culturally जब चीज़ें आती हैं तो लोगों के जो purchase behaviors हैं और what products they buy, they also come under change. अब मिसाल के तौर पे पहले कभी किसी को ख्याल नहीं आता था, अगर वालिद का बर्थडे था तो उनको बर्थडे पर गिफ्ट दिया जाता था, बट अब पूरे सिस्टम में, पर्टिकुलरली इन अमेरिका, फादर्स डे मनाया जाता है. अब अगर फादर्स डे मनाया जाता है तो एक नॉर्म बन गया कि उस दिन everybody will do something for the father. Same is the case with the Teachers Day. अमेरिका में टीचर्स डे सेलिब्रेट होता है बड़ी, with a lot of fanfare, and the children tend to bring gifts and thoughts, cards even, to their teachers. अब वो चीज़ पहले तो पाकिस्तान में नहीं थी, लेकिन over a period of time, the Father's Day, the Mother's Day, these have been now moving in. और अब यही नहीं, but marketers are actually using these times and these occasions to market their products and to promote their products. तो कहने का मकसद ये है कि कल्चर का जो इन्फ्लुएंस है वो है लॉन्ग लास्टिंग, बट दैट डजंट मीन कि चेंज नहीं आएगी, चेंज आएगी. एंड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम द चेंज हैज टू बी वॉच्ड बाय द मार्केटर्स टू बी एबल टू either bring new products into the market or use these cultural change to promote their products. Or these frameworks have taken a lot of significance. और इसी situation में we need to be able to know the exact definitions that we will be using in this lecture. कई तरीके से culture को define किया जाता है, मुख्तलिफ अंदाज हैं, but जिन चीज़ों पे हमारी नज़र होनी चाहिए, because these are the points which will concern us as marketers, और उसमें मिसाल के तौर पे culture as a whole है. फिर एक कॉन्सेप्ट है बिलीफ्स का, बिकॉज कल्चर में बिलीफ्स और वैल्यूज और कस्टम्स, इन तीनों का जोड़ है. व्हाट आई बिलीव आई गेट फ्रॉम माय पेरेंट्स, माय फैमिली, एंड दैट इज व्हाई फैमिली का इन्फ्लुएंस बहुत ज़्यादा होता है, बिकॉज कल्चर में भी सीखने का जो अंदाज है वो पेरेंट्स और फैमिली से ही शुरू होगा. सो देयरफॉर देयर आर सर्टेन बिलीफ्स दैट वी हैव, देयर आर सर्टेन वैल्यूज दैट वी हैव, सो वी नीड टू डिफाइन देम वेरी एक्यूरेटली and understand what can be changed and what is difficult to change. Then there are customs, or customs के अंदर we also have talked about कि customs में we cannot negate the customs, we might change the custom, but customs are something that we regularly do. फिर कुछ कहते हैं rituals होती हैं. Rituals are basically symbols of particular behaviors or particular occasions, और उनमें भी उसमें भी culture का बड़ा हाथ है कि रिचुअल्स चेंज भी करते हैं. रिचुअल्स तरीक़ाकार हैं. मिसाल के तौर पे किसी ज़माने में शादियां जो हैं वो निकाह वो मस्जिदों पे होता था, बट ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम इन पाकिस्तान ऑल्सो पहले शादियां, निकाह और ये सारे जो फंक्शंस हैं फॉर मैरिज यूज्ड टू टेक प्लेस इन होम्स. बट बिकॉज ऑफ द कल्चरल चेंज, बिकॉज ऑफ द न्यू थिंग्स कमिंग इन, बिकॉज ऑफ द distance between people that is coming up, we tend to collect now in marriage halls. और अब marriage hall एक लाजिम हिस्सा बन गया है मैरिज सेरेमनी का. और फिर उनमें जो रिचुअल्स हम करते हैं, परफॉर्म करते हैं, कि निकाह है, मेहंदी है, एंड देन वलीमा, एंड ऑल दीज थिंग्स, दे आर पार्ट ऑफ दोज सिंबल्स which define a particular occasion or a particular event. So we need to be able to understand that. Now, just to be able to start in this, I said that culture is basically the society's personality. And like I told you, कि individual की personality को समझने के लिए what we have is a psychologist, और एक society की personality को समझने के लिए we have an anthropologist. But anthropologists are used by the marketing people to be able to understand what is the culture today and how will it move. Because when we look at huge amount of information that is flowing in from all over the world, तो वो किसी ना किसी तरह से influence करता है जो भी कुछ आज है. And we can, under certain conditions, प्रोजेक्ट और प्रिडिक्ट कि ये जो कल्चर के चेंजेस हैं ये किस तरफ को जाएंगी, और मार्केटर्स have this responsibility to be able to anticipate these changes and then make use of these opportunities to bring forth products or use them for communication purposes or use them in the media frameworks. All this is part of our cultural frame or the way these things are influencing our behaviors. Now, if I define culture, so let me read the definition of culture. Culture is the sum total of learned belief, values, and customs that serve to direct the consumer behavior of members of a particular society. Now, let me repeat it again so that you can see it and we read it together. Culture is the sum total of learned beliefs, values, and customs that serve to direct the consumer behavior of the members of a particular society. Now, the two words which are operative in this is belief and values. Now, we should understand what is a belief. Frankly, belief is verbal or non-verbal images that suggest your perception about anything, given situation, or a point, or a product. Anything relates to the verbal or the non-verbal image that you can create about particular event or a particular product or anything. और इसमें एक simple सा example ये है जो मैं दे भी चुका हूँ कि my belief is that the German car is better than the Japanese car. Now, it's purely a belief. This belief can change, and it can be verbalized through my language, or it can be in my mind without being verbalized, but in my own self, I believe these things. और ये belief जो है, this influences, like I said, influences or guides behavior. ये beliefs जो हैं, these normally guide behavior, और इसीलिए marketers are more concerned कि अगर belief किसी product के मुतालिक गलत पैदा हो जाए और एक concept गलत आ जाए, तो we need to try and correct it. और ये beliefs जो हैं, ये create होते हैं because of certain conditions in certain thought processes. On the other hand, values जो हैं, they are again beliefs of their own kind, but the difference between the two is basically very simple. कि values जो हैं वो थोड़े हैं. There are fewer in number than in the case of beliefs. Beliefs are very extensive. We can have a belief for everything in the world, but values जो हैं वो थोड़ी confined होती हैं. Number two, values are more difficult to change because they are longer lasting. They have a long life cycle, whereas beliefs can be changed with some new evidence coming in. You might change a belief or a factor, including sometimes written material or factual position might come into position कि वो change कर देता है. So there are so many other factors which move into this position कि belief और values को कैसे differentiate किया जाता है. I'll give some examples, but before I do that, let me also take a look at customs. Now, customs are what we do daily. जो हमारी daily की तरीक़ाकार हैं, the way we behave in a normal fashion, they become customs. और उसकी वजह क्या है कि ये जो डेली के तरीक़ाकार या जो behaviors हमने adopt कर लिए हैं या adapt कर लिए हैं, they always come out of cultures. मिसाल के तौर पे in Karachi, for example, people tend to eat rice after they have had their bread. So पहले रोटी खाई जाएगी and then bread खाया जाएगा, rice खाई जाएगी, particularly in a particular cultural frame. However, on the other side in Punjab, we go the other way. We normally would eat rice first and then go for a chapati or a roti at the end or a naan after that. So these are what we call customs. That's the way we behave. In the morning, for example, in Punjab, we might like to have lassi, but in another area or another society, maybe in China, we might like to have a cup of green tea in the morning. America में breakfast के लिए you might have eggs and steaks, whereas in UK or in Europe, you might have a croissant or a minimal cup of coffee and a little butter and honey, and that's it. So that's why we have what we call a continental breakfast and an American breakfast and a Pakistani breakfast. Those people who have traveled and stayed in hotels, even big hotels, you will find that on their menu. Up, us menu mein, why do we have to distinguish? Because normally to breakfast is breakfast, but the reason basically is कि cultures में कुछ ऐसी चीजें daily करनी शुरू कर दी जाती हैं which become part and parcel of our life. Let's say between meals, in some cultures, दो खानों के बीच में जैसे breakfast है या lunch है, उसके बीच में snack खाना ठीक नहीं समझा जाता. But in another culture, that may be the norm कि 11 बजे चाय होगी. Or for example, in the Arab world, what we call, or even in Mexico, for example, we call after lunch, there is 1 hour where they have siesta, which means घंटे के लिए you normally lie down and sleep. But in an American system, it will be very strange to find that after lunch, you have a break, and in the break, people tend to go to sleep because that will not be considered the cultural value system within a country. So we will look at it from that angle, and we will see कि इन दोनों में और इन तीनों में जो फर्क है उसका influence marketing पे कैसे होता है. The fact is that cultures, or the difference between cultures, or the difference between how we do things, only become possible and recognizable when we come across different behaviors. Otherwise, we will never know that we are behaving, or the reason why we are doing something relates to culture, which means basically that culture जो है, the hand that is operating behind our behavior is invisible to people, and the only time they become aware of our cultural differences is when we come across and contact another culture in the same setting area or in the same occasional frame, and there is where we normally tend to say, oh, अच्छा आप ये ऐसे करते हैं और हम तो ये ऐसे करते हैं. When we say this, we are actually openly, categorically defining the cultural differences. Otherwise we cannot know why these things are like that, or why people behave like that, or what happens. So ये जो culture का influence है, this is basically what we call hidden. It's ingrained. We have it developed within our system over a period of time without really recognizing कि ये culture के aspects हैं. तो जब ये culture किसी दूसरे culture के मुकाबले में आता है, तो वहाँ फिर जब difference नजर आता है, तो then we start saying, oh, okay, this is what you do, but in this situation, we do it like this. तो जब मैंने ये कहा कि we always tend to say, in this situation, we do it like this, means that we are referring to the influence of culture which has come about or ingrained in us over a period of time. That is why we find that elderly people normally tend to pass these kind of things on to the other, their youngsters, and all these passaged information is basically culturally oriented. इसीलिए कई जगहों के ऊपर we find that within a country, which is obviously a border, like I said, that is the national culture, but then there are times when cultures cross borders. और उसके लिए examples are very simple, and we have it in particularly in our northern areas, the Pashtuns who live in the NWFP, now we call it Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, against the Afghans, but they are also Pashtuns, they live across the border, but they are not, therefore that behavior or culture of the Pashtuns may not be relevant to only a particular national boundary or geographical boundary, but it crosses over. However, in our case, like I said, the ways the cultures can be defined is the way our language is, or the way our law is, the way our dress code, even dress codes have adopted a cultural framework. Pakistani national dress, which is what we have as the white shalwar kameez with a black jacket, half-sleeve jacket and shoes, they reflect what we assume to be the culture that belongs to the Pakistan, and therefore we call it the Pakistani national dress. However, if we move towards the Punjab, the dress code will change, and that will be known now not as the national dress, but as the dress from the Punjab area. And the same thing happens in the frontier, and the same thing happens in Balochistan and Sindh and so on and so forth. All these things have a relevance to the marketer because the same kind of clothes which are being designed would have connotations of the culture involved, and that actually will facilitate purchase behavior. जो चीज हमारे कल्चर से ज्यादा क्लोज होगी, that will be more easy to be accepted by the consumers, and those which are not or which contradict cultures, then we will find that there will be problems in doing this. These two factors become very critical in the area that we want to understand. और अगर ये हकीकत broader picture में है, तो फिर subcultures, which is the culture of groups within a whole culture, also takes significance, because जब हम segmentation करते हैं culture को इस्तेमाल करते हुए, तो उसका मकसद भी यही है. And segmentations are done, like we have discussed in the segmentation section, can be done on the basis of demographics, psychographics, social groups, even culture. And culture becomes another very important framework, particularly when we are depicting or sending messages across within the same framework. Now, given all this, let's look at the important point, what is relevant, कि cultures का मकसद सिर्फ एक behavior ही नहीं है, but it is actually the guide to behavior. And we said that कि culture जो है वो, और उसके अंदर जो values हैं या उसके अंदर जो beliefs हैं, ये behavior को guide करते हैं और एक तरह से हमें सिखाते हैं कि कभी कोई problem हो तो हम उसको कैसे meet करें. And therefore, जो regular issues we might find are covered by the way the cultures behave. For example, one can ask oneself कि अगर guests आ रहे हैं तो should we give a sitting dinner or should we put the क्या नाम है दस्तरखान बिछाया जाए? Which would be the more right thing to do? Now, if somebody had lived in, let's say, America for some time and he comes back to Pakistan, तो चूंकि अमेरिका में बुफे खाना या टेबल पे लेट डाउन खाना नॉर्मल है, तो वहाँ से अगर वो पाकिस्तान आए और किसी ऐसे इलाके में जाए जहाँ नॉर्मल तरीके पे दस्तरखान बिछाया जाता है, तो वहाँ he would have a problem, because and the first thing that they will do most probably is to find out what is the custom, how do we do it, and it is this culture which gives this answer, okay, what is the appropriate manner to behave in a particular situation or a particular method. Now, because of these factors, even the way we are supposed to dress for, let's say, office or the schools or in the wedding, all are determined by cultures. और जैसे मैंने कहा, that is what happens why marketers must constantly know how things are going to be changing over a period of time. For example, किसी ज़माने में office में या even in the army, people had to be dressed up in a tie and a suit when they would go to a function. But over a period of time, those things have changed. अब वो change जब आई है, तो ये marketing के लिए an opportunity to be able to use these factors to promote a particular kind of product or a particular kind of design or fashion to utilize this cultural change. In other words, therefore, what we are saying is कि चूंकि कल्चर एक खास नीड को सेटिस्फाई करता है और कल्चर के जितने भी आइटम्स हैं वो हमें गाइड करते हैं टू बिहेव इन अ पर्टिकुलर मैनर, और जिस वक्त तक ये गाइडेंस चलती रहे और इस नीड को वी कैन सेटिस्फाई थ्रू द वेरियस फॉर्म्स दैट आर प्रोवाइडेड टू अस कि हम कैसे बिहेव करेंगे, तो जब तक वो बिहेवियर सेटिस्फैक्शन के हवाले से चलेगा ये कल्चर में रहेगा. बट व्हेन there is a new method of satisfying the same concern, same situation, new guidelines moving in, तो जो पुरानी चीज़ है वो ख़त्म हो जाएगी और इसीलिए कल्चर में जो डायनामिज्म है वो कायम रहता है. एंड दैट इज़ वाई वी कीप सेइंग दैट कल्चर्स में डायनामिज्म है, एंड वी नॉर्मली टेंड टू अज्यूम एंड बिलीव कि ये कल्चर जो है ये चेंज करेगा, और मार्केटर्स हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल अबाउट इट. नाउ द क्वेश्चन बेसिकली इज हाउ does this learning take place? हमने कहा कि ये चूंकि ingrained है, and it is not like the biological needs that exist in us before or during our birth, जो कि physiological needs हैं, these are not that. these are particularly learned areas. और जैसे हमने ये भी कहा था कि needs जो होती हैं वो physiological होती हैं, they exist in us, but wants जो हैं वो change करती हैं, because it is the wants that actually tries to satisfy the need. हम किस तरह से उस need को satisfy करें ये change करता है, and when that changes they have a direct link with the cultural area, because culture के अंदर किसी भी need को satisfy करने के लिए guidelines दी जाती हैं, and these guidelines are the ones that are important. अगर ये बात है कि हंगर की तरह नहीं, स्लीप की तरह नहीं, लेकिन किस तरह से टेबल बिछाई जाएगी, ये चीज़ें अगर हैं तो फिर we need to know how do we learn these things. So the first most important area of this learning comes from our family, which is known as the formal learning system. Now, formal learning system is when adults and older brothers and sisters, they normally tend to teach the younger people how to behave in a particular manner. And how to behave का जो आंसर है, ये तरीका गलत है. मिसाल के तौर पे smoking in front of seniors is considered to be bad. क्या नाम है, answering क्या नाम है, right against the father or an elderly person is not correct. You do not speak when an elderly person is speaking. All these things are learned from the very beginning, और इसके सिखाने में family का हाथ बहुत ज़्यादा है. That is the place where we call it formal learning. Now, formal learning के अलावा another form of learning is what we call the informal learning framework, where normally we tend to have friends, दोस्त और जो colleagues हैं हमारे, वो हमें क्या सिखाते हैं कि कौन सी चीज़ ठीक है, कौन सी नहीं है. तो ये हमारे लिए एक second phase है जिसमें we learn various aspects of culture. And it is also within this framework that when people move from different countries or different regions and come to start living in a new area, तो वहाँ ये convergence शुरू होती है. मिसाल के तौर पे during the partition time in 1947, people moved from, let's say, India and came and settled down in Pakistan in various provinces. कुछ कराची और सिंध के इलाके में गए. Some people moved in towards Punjab. Some people moved on towards the frontier, but we spread around. If you go and if you want to carry out a little bit of a research, you will find that those people who left India most probably had a similar culture which was existing. But then when they shifted into these other provinces and other areas located in Pakistan, तो उनके cultures change कर गए. So now if we look at the same people who had shifted from India to, let's say, Karachi or India to Punjab, they had similar cultures, but now there is a distinct difference between the cultural settings or the cultural behaviors of these two groups. जिनकी origin, mark you, is the same. I'm repeating that the origin is the same, but when they move to these two distinct areas, तो उन्होंने अपने अंदर उस इलाके की जो कल्चर्स थे उनको एसिमिलेट किया. उसको एसिमिलेट करने के लिए वी नीड फ्रेंड्स, नेबर्स और गैदरिंग ऑफ द पीपल, वो उन्होंने उनको सिखाया. लेकिन जो ओरिजिनल कल्चर्स थे जो कि ओरिजिन में वो लेके चले थे फ्रॉम इंडिया टू पाकिस्तान, दे आर स्टिल द सेम. अब उनके ऊपर एक किस्म का रंग चढ़ गया है. सो देयरफॉर we have distinctions now totally different from. Third is when we go to the teachers in the schools. Schools के अंदर भी खास cultures हैं जो फिर इन दो तरीकों के ऊपर अपना रंग डालते हैं. If you are aware and if you have met people from different school systems, you will find कि अगर वो पठान हैं या पंजाब से हैं या साउथ पंजाब से हैं या कराची से हैं, लेकिन जब वो लेट्स से कैडेट कॉलेज हसन अब्दाल जाएं या मिलिट्री कॉलेज जाएं या एचसन कॉलेज जाएं या ग्रामर स्कूल में पढ़ने जाएं, तो वहाँ उनके अपने जो कल्चर्स हैं, दे टेंड टू क्रिएट फर्दर amalgamation within these cultures. So we find one of the two things happening, that some kind of convergence will start happening and people will tend to start behaving in particular manner. And that is why people are very consider it very significant particularly the parents, कि उनके बच्चे किन स्कूलों में पढ़ेंगे, क्योंकि everybody recognizes the fact, though we do not articulate it, but we recognize the fact कि कुछ चीज़ें, कुछ आदतें, कुछ habits ऐसी acquire की जाएंगी which will have profound impact or influence on the child's future. Which will be driven by ambition, those people who will be, let's say, studying in specific schools and colleges, jahan achievement and merit is of the highest order, they will tend to start moving in that direction. But people who have gone to different other schools where they are more money orientation or materialistic, so jo bachche wahan jayenge, they will also try and capture those feelings or frameworks. So this will obviously bring about a change. And isliye, when we look at CVs or when information is gathered, one of the information that is picked up by researchers is the place where you studied or the place where you completed your course or you completed your degree, because that also starts telling about the person. It tries to guide the person who's reviewing that कि क्या nature हो सकता है. For example, a person coming from Punjab University student may be different in approach than somebody coming from GI Khan or somebody coming from King Edward Medical College. All these factors, even though their learning or educational levels may be the same, the master's degrees might be the same, but culturally different factors move in. And इसीलिए अगर आप कई दफ़ा देखते हैं एडवर्टीजमेंट्स जो आते हैं HR के हवाले से, particularly now I'm talking from that angle, तो वहाँ you will sometimes find people tending to say that only LUM student or IBA student or a particular university student should apply because they believe that certain cultural frames have been inground into those people and that fits in with their own system. In the same way, if we recognize as marketers that every institution also tries to bring in a particular behavior set, it becomes much easier for us to be able to use that in terms of marketing. And having said this, it is very categorical that advertising, according to research, suggests that advertising can influence all the 3 learning points in the system. That means they can use advertising, can influence the way parents will teach their children. They do. It can be done. Or it can be done through friends and colleagues from those places. Peer review, peer pressure can be built. Finally, even the school systems can be influenced and the teaching behaviors and these things can be influenced regularly. A very simple example is of the chewing gum. Now, in Pakistan, we do not find chewing gum as a very strong cultural frame. But it is possible that we can look at America where over 70% of the population has chewing gum. अब चूंकि उनका इंटरेस्ट है, उसकी वजह क्या है, we will leave that aside. But for a marketer, there is a huge area of what do you call opportunity sitting there to use this kind of a framework. Same is the case with people who come from, let's say, the Eastern world where we came from, India. Betel chewing, pan khana is one of the factors. But having seen that there are certain negative impacts of rather smoking or betel chewing, there is an opportunity sitting for marketers to be able to promote products which will try to either reduce or eliminate these issues. And as we were talking about learning, so we were talking about learning in the formal setting, which is from the parents, the informal, which is basically from the friends and colleagues, and finally we talked about the technical. So is pure process ko, when we are trying to learn from our own culture, we call it inculturation. The spelling is from EN, culturation, so which means that we are trying to understand and learn of our own culture. On the other hand, like I've been talking about, and we have discussed that there are frames by which we assimilate other cultures. So in that sense, we try and understand what is happening in another culture, and learning about the other culture is called acculturation, which means aculturation. So you can use that word. मिसाल के तौर पे जो लोग बाहर जाते रहे हैं या जाएंगे, they would be more conscious of this fact, because once you go to another country, let's say if you visit Malaysia or you go to Indonesia, तो वहाँ जो चीज़ें की जाती हैं, सबसे पहले it becomes very important for any person who travels out to be able to be sure कि उन मुल्कों में कल्चर के क्या बिहेवियर्स हैं या उनके कस्टम्स क्या हैं या उनके तरीक़ाकार क्या हैं, so that we do not make mistakes and we do not anger the people who live within that society or that particular nation. तो उस चीज़ को हम acculturation कहते हैं, which is different than enculturation. और इन चीज़ों को सीखने के लिए not only we have stories that we are told or we are told कि this is the way we behave या इस तरह से हम ये चीज़ करते हैं, जो भी है, लेकिन उसमें दो चीज़ें काफ़ी इम्पोर्टेंट हैं, और उसके अलावा we will talk about a third one which is particularly used by the marketers for the purposes. तो उसमें एक तो है लैंग्वेज और दूसरा है सिंबल्स. सिंबल्स की अपनी एक नौयत है which is very important and they reflect certain behaviors and certain beliefs. तो ये सिंबल्स जो हैं, इनका अपना मकसद होता है और वो एक मैसेज पोर्ट्रे करते हैं, और मैसेज इज वेरी क्रिटिकल इन any kind of a business deal. We need to be able to understand then when we give a gift, when we go out to the foreigners, if we visit, let's say, Indonesia or America or UK, तो कौन सा गिफ्ट लेकर जाना है, उसका भी एक बड़ा significant frame है, because if we make a mistake, तो ये जो symbols हैं, they can be representing totally different things if we are not aware of what they really mean for a particular culture. And इसी तरह से जब advertising बनती है, तो उसमें अगर जो symbol इस्तेमाल हो रहा है, if it has been used wrongly or contrary to the cultural values of that particular country, तो अगर उस country में वो advertisement या वो symbol दिखाया जाएगा, it will have a very negative impact. So as marketers, we have to be aware of these two frameworks. और इसीलिए हमने जब बात की तो लैंग्वेज तो अपनी जगह पर है, एंड वी हैव ऑलरेडी रिकॉग्नाइज्ड द फैक्ट व्हेन वी वर डूइंग कम्युनिकेशंस कि एवरी वर्ड दैट इज स्पोकन इन द कम्युनिकेशन फ्रेमवर्क शुड बी द वे इट शुड बी अंडरस्टूड बाय द रिसीवर ऑफ द मैसेज. सो इफ आई यूज अ पर्टिकुलर वर्ड, तो वो वर्ड वही होना चाहिए और उसका मतलब भी वही निकलना चाहिए जो सुनने वाला या रिसीव करने वाला उसको लेगा. इफ देयर इज अ कंफ्यूजन देयर, you will find that we will have a problem. और उसमें language is a major significant factor. और जो words हम इस्तेमाल करते हैं cultures के अंदर, उनकी जो अपनी connotation है, that must be understood by the marketer. So we do not use words which could have double meaning or whose meaning can be totally misinterpreted. And there are a number of examples sitting in the marketing literature where major mistakes were made by the Americans, for example, when they were trying to enter Japan, or when the Japanese were trying to enter France, they made mistakes. Why? Because they tried to use the literal meanings of the words, whereas, frankly, the meanings were more culturally oriented, so they should have been very careful when they moved in. There are some examples, and we will discuss that at a later stage. In the same way, we are talking about symbols. So symbols which may be verbal or non-verbal, again have a very major significance in their usage. As we have already discussed, ये जो symbols हैं, they are very critical in terms of, let's say, price. Price itself has a symbolic value. The place where you put your product or brand has a symbolic value because it reflects the quality of the product, or so many things are part of that. And the way the product is delivered, even the packaging, जो एक symbolic चीज़ है, because sometimes though packaging is used for the purposes of protecting the product or maybe providing life shelf space, उसकी life बढ़ाने के लिए इस्तेमाल होता है, but given all these things, we already understand that they also have symbolic value. So the way a product or the package is designed conveys a message. Now, having said all this, the third important area that I was talking about, which has got a lot of marketing value in it, is rituals. rituals are basic acts which are performed on a particular occasion, और इन acts को products जो हैं वो enhance कर देते हैं उनकी चीज़ों को. मिसाल के तौर पे we are all aware that on graduation people, after they have received the degree, which is basically symbolic, because काम तो उन्होंने कर लिया होता है, सब कुछ हो चुका होता है, लेकिन दुनिया के सामने बैठ के the symbol is that the person receives a degree from the dean. तो उसके बाद नॉर्मली आपने देखा होगा लोग अपनी जो कैप्स पहनी होती हैं वो उछालते हैं. दिस इज बेसिकली सिंबॉलिक ऑफ फ्रीडम फ्रॉम अ पर्टिकुलर एरिया. इसी तरह से इन डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ लाइफ वी फाइंड मेजर रिचुअल्स. अब बर्थडे केक काटना है तो उसका अपना रिचुअल होगा. अगर 50 साल की लाइफ गुजर गई और उस वक्त केक काटा गया तो उसमें कैंडल्स कितनी आएंगी और उनका क्या सिंबल है. ये all these parts and parcel of things which normally tend to be exploited by the marketers. And the reason basically is, like I said, कि जो objects हैं या products होते हैं, अगर वो किसी ritual के साथ associate हो जाएं, तो उस ritual को भी वो enhance कर देते हैं, और product obviously linked with the ritual also has a particular frame and it gets enhanced also. So marketers who can do this kind of a work where they can bring these two things together, or these 3 or 4 things together, really have an opportunity to exploit the situations, particularly in terms of linking up with rituals. And like I said, the Valentine's Day, which is becoming a new phenomena in Pakistan, even though it's got nothing to do with the Pakistani culture. We find the Father's Day, which may have symbolic value because fathers are treated with respect over the world. But giving it a new framework and developing a ritual behind it becomes an important framework. कई societies हैं जिनके अंदर ये rituals इस्तेमाल किए जाते हैं, even to the point of marriage ceremonies. वहाँ rituals की एक अपनी significance है, and so forth. All these things have an impact in terms of marketing, particularly if we can recognize that these rituals can have an impact on the product that we are selling, or the product has an impact on the ritual to enhance it. Now, we have been talking about how the cultures and the rituals and all these things are all linked up. लेकिन इसमें जो important चीज़ फिर दोबारा focus on it, कि culture basically shared है. अगर वो share नहीं किया जा सकता तो वो फिर culture का frame नहीं आएगा. उसमें फिर there will be some other concept, particularly which will be very specific. हम जब ये बात करते हैं कि ये कल्चर जो है शेयर्ड वैल्यूज हैं, शेयर्ड बिलीव्स हैं, तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि दे हैव टू बी पुट टुगेदर. अगर ये सिर्फ एक्सक्लूसिवली कुछ लोगों के पास है या ये उनके साथ उसका ताल्लुक है, तो वो कल्चरल फ्रेम में नहीं आएगा. वो एक स्पेसिफिक एरिया या आइडिया है जिसको हम इग्नोर कर सकते हैं फ्रॉम द कल्चरल फ्रेमवर्क. तो कल्चर में, लाइक वी सेड, द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट ऑब्वियसली इज द फैमिली एंड द टीचर्स, who normally tend to bring this sharing of values. और उसका तरीका क्या है? If you look at our teaching styles, and even in the olden times frames, जो stories होती हैं, कहानियाँ होती हैं, जो artifacts हैं, they are the ones which are actually being brought into position. और इसमें जो वालिद हैं या वालिदैन हैं, वो normally अपने बुजुर्गों की कहानियाँ सुना के वो वैल्यू सिस्टम्स क्रिएट करने की कोशिश करते हैं बच्चों में, कि जिन वैल्यूज से उन्होंने सीखा है. Though we find that this kind of a framework is nowadays, according to research, has reduced in importance because people are so busy with their lives and there are so many new things that are happening, that the old traditional frames which created value systems have lost their importance. Now what we have left is, particularly in the school systems, where the teachers and the syllabi, that tends to communicate the cultural frames through the use of history, or through the use of sociology, and so on and so forth. These are the basic areas from where we learn. Misal ke taur pe, I remember from my olden times when I was a child learning in a school, I still remember a story of a boy who stood next to a dike, what we call बंद दरिया के साथ या कनाल के साथ, and he saw a trickle of water coming from there, so he put his finger there to stop the water from flowing because he had this feeling कि अगर ये पानी चलता रहा तो हो सकता है ये सारा का सारा जो बंद है वो टूट जाए और उससे सैलाब आएगा और उसके जो घर वाले हैं उनको नुकसान होगा। तो ये जो कहानी which belongs to Scandinavian countries, most probably if I remember correctly it belongs to a Dutch boy, तो ये कहानी was basically trying to suggest that एक आदमी या एक शख्स अपने को तकलीफ देके दूसरों को बचा सकता है। This is a particular kind of value which can be communicated or sent forth through various institutions, and these small stories really help people share the same cultural values. और इसी तरह की और बहुत सी कहानियां हैं जो बच्चों को सुनाई जाती हैं so that cultures can be formulated and they can be shared. Now, other than the schools, आजकल mass media has got a very important role in this area also, because mass media का जो role है वो अगर आप historically देखें 10 to 20 years back has changed tremendously. Pakistan is a very good point of view for this particular area, or a case in point कि किसी ज़माने में particularly जो recent issue हुआ जिसमें judiciary and the media supported a lot of did some very active work in bringing some issues in front of people, और उसकी वजह से एक खास किस्म की change लोगों में आनी शुरू हो गई है. They are becoming more conscious of the fact that there are certain things that we need to do correctly. और ये जितनी भी चीज़ें हैं ये मीडिया का जो नया रोल है उससे ये निकलती हैं. Now that also makes an important difference कि marketers इन changed media roles को भी इस्तेमाल करते हैं, because in terms of, if you recall, we talked about sponsorships of events, we talked about marches, and we talked about what are the possibilities in terms of media things that we can do, and how can our product be associated with these has a major significance, because अब ये एक ऐसा area पैदा हो चुका है जहाँ marketers can really exploit by supporting those causes or those events which significantly have an impact on our lifestyles. मिसाल के तौर पे cleanliness का issue, disposal of products का issue. इसी तरह से there are so many other factors which are moving into position जहां mass media जो है उसका एक significant role पैदा हो चुका है, और इस significant role को if marketers can recognize this really importantly, then we have the possibility of using this. And if you recall, I gave you this example particularly, and I don't know whether in Pakistan we have been able to understand this, कि advertisement में Tiger Woods was a major sponsor of a number of products in the world. लेकिन एक scandal की वजह से he was immediately removed from all these lucrative money-making events that he was sponsoring. Now, this is a significant point. Why? Because जिस scandal से उसको, जिसकी वजह से उसको उन चीज़ों को या उसको advertising के role से हटाया गया, it gives a message to the market, it gives a message to the community कि ये जो behavior है ये unacceptable है. So this kind of a role which belongs to the marketers and to the media becomes significant. On the other hand, we also find, and I'm going to use an example, that most of our models have been involved in some scandalous information, but we seem to have no issues with that. On the other side, in America, that one scandal pushed him totally out of the picture, and the message is very clear. अगर हम ये message दे रहे हैं कि ये behavior ठीक नहीं है, तो this is the possibility where marketers can use and bring in the cultural frames that are required by the country. इसी तरह से finally we normally have what we call places of worship, mosque. हमारे क्या नाम है इस्लाम में masjid is a very significant place where these cultural, moral, ethical things can be put down into a particular framework. Europe और अमेरिका में जहाँ religion, we believe कि religion इतना strong नहीं है, which is a wrong conceptualization, because most of the significant cultural changes are an outcome of the work that is done in the worship places, जो areas of worships हैं, like churches. There is a significant shift from a point of time where the families were breaking up in America or the Western world. There were more divorces. Now we see there is a shift back to a nucleus family where family would like to stay together to take care of the children. So there is a major shift over the 30 years. And इसी तरह से, these are the points which do bring sharing of the culture. Now, at this point of time, this is where I would like to stop. I've already talked quite a bit about dynamism of the culture, where cultures change, merge, and the marketers are required to constantly be aware of it, because इसमें opportunities भी हैं, इनको इस्तेमाल भी किया जा सकता है, leverage भी किया जा सकता है, और we can use them to create more sharing of the same values. The next session में we will try and complete that with the help of trying to understand how cultures are studied, how cultures are researched, and with that we will also look at a few important features on the basis of which cultures are actually measured across the various countries. Obviously, the book would suggest only the Western culture that is important, which is not where we are involved. हमारे भी research है, लेकिन that is a very minimal research in this particular area, so we cannot really suggest what is the real cultural values that we have developed. But चूंकि there is a researcher who has Hofstede, उसका नाम है, he's done research across the world, so he has been able to establish certain factors across which we should be able to measure culture. This brings us to the end of this lecture, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care. Allah Hafiz.